Tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. Ko Sir George Sewell whakawaka, ko Wangakiki whakamoinga, ko Tamaki Makura, ko Ngāti Pākehā, ko Christian Dunham. No reira, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. Thank you so much for coming to this presentation. It's very much a work in progress. I am a fourth generation Pākehā New Zealander. Been in education for around 58 years, first as a primary teacher and then at early childhood placing my own children. I'm now pretty much retired, just finishing off a couple of students' theses, but I've continued to maintain my real interest in early childhood education and the bicultural curriculum and equity and gender. And this is very much a work in progress. So just that wee bit of background about the Te Whāriki signed in 1840 by the Indigenous and the Crown, and it is the basis of the bicultural curriculum as we have enacted it through Te Whāriki. ECE was the first sector to explore and embrace the bicultural curriculum, and the process of developing the first national early childhood curriculum, as we heard from Helen today, was very much in close partnership with Māori, which was unusual back in the late 80s, early 90s. And I noticed on practicum visits to students how much the students and the associate teachers struggled to implement the bicultural curriculum. And that became the basis of my doctoral research, which I started officially around 2004 with actually working with centres. And it's still prevalent today, the struggle. And as we saw from Helen's presentation, the struggle is still there, as somebody noted in their review of the refreshed Te Whāriki. So this is what led to my doctoral research, and I looked at the documents, the structure of the document, Te Whāriki. I looked at the focus on te reo, tikanga and te ao Māori, and specifically at the principles and strands. And like Helen, I too have a kind of a yearning for the very first draft in '93, which did include Pacific special needs, and yeah, I have a real yearning for that. And my copy got borrowed and not returned, and I, kind of miss it. But I was working for Bernardo's at that time, so we started, implementing the draft and trialling it out. And then when I moved to the Auckland College of Education creche, we continued that journey on the draft. So this is a comparative study. So I took the work that I'd done looking at what is there in Te Whāriki in the 1996 version, what was there that actually had anything to do with the bicultural curriculum. So what were we actually being guided to implement? And so I analysed that, and now I've just gone back and looked at that and compared the 1996 with the 2017 and developed that second table of aspects of the bicultural curriculum. And I looked at the structure of both documents. So initial findings, according to the Ministry of Education, Te Whāriki is the aspiration for children, the bicultural structure, principles, strands and goals remain the same. But the updated version includes a stronger focus on bicultural practice, the importance of language, cultural identity and the inclusion of all children. And I wanted to see if that was actually accurate. So my investigation and comparative reflection notes the addition of colour and the photographs do enhance the readability of the document and illustrate many of the ethnicities of children now attending early childhood services. And I thought that was a real gain. I think the use of the word kaiako is a welcome addition, because it encompasses the many roles that adults play in an early childhood centre. The theoretical underpinnings in the 2000 version, 17 version, they've expanded to include the kaupapa Māori. Though I notice that comes last. Like, if we're really committed to bicultural, I think we need to put te reo first as the Indigenous language that was here first, and Māori is the add-on or the sometimes translation. And to me, it should have been the same with the theories. If we're truly committed to that bicultural then kaupapa Māori theory should have been forefronted in the discussion on the theory. It includes the sociocultural of Vygotsky and Brunner, as well as the retaining the Bronfenbrenner, the biological theory. And the Bronfenbrenner one is also rather enhanced Bronfenbrenner by including his later work on the inclusion of time in the chromosection. I think it's probably a better move to have a section for Kongareo rather than kind of adding it almost as an afterthought in the 1996 version. You know, you had the English strands and then you'd have something for Kongareo. So, yeah. In fact, it's probably not for me to decide whether it is a better version having the two separate, but that is probably better for Kongareo to comment on that. You have to be, I feel, very mindful of. One of the things I did when I did my doctoral research was to have a Māori advisory committee to guide me through the process of what I was doing, for fear I trample where I shouldn't be. And so I'm mindful of the lessons I learned in that process. Very reminiscent of what you were talking about, yeah. Just as a side, oh, no, I'll come to that in a minute. Okay. So the foregrounding of Te Tiriti o Waitangi at the beginning, rather than threaded through, does provide that useful framework, but it's no longer woven through the principle and strands. I think it would have been nice to have had both. More than nice, I think it's probably essential. After about the half-page overview of the treaty, it's rather ignored, as noted by Skerritt and Ritchie, that the treaty is not mentioned again in Te Whāriki until a paragraph towards the end of the document, which links it to the school curriculum. And given that it's because of Te Tiriti o Waitangi we have a bicultural curriculum, that does seem to make it less important than it is. The structure of the Whāriki in 1996 was represented as a flat power structure with te reo at one end, English at the other. The 2017 one, I think, privileges English by putting it first with the te reo afterwards. But the use of colour does enhance the depiction of the Whāriki. So you can see all the way I'm struggling, and I'm a bit excited about some of the changes and struggling with some of them, and not sure we've got that bicultural balance right yet. And I don't think we had it right in 96, and I don't think we've got it much better right, or even right going on. So I've done a little bit more analysis, and I looked at spirituality in particular, because what came from my doctoral research, and I collected the data with 3 early childhood centres. One was a kindergarten in what was then a rural area, 2-teacher kindergarten in a rural area or semi-rural area. One was a mixed age range centre, and the owner had 2 or 3 centres. So I was looking for a corporate centre, but after about 9 months of being turned down by the corporate centres, I gave up on that. And the third one was a centre connected to a hospital, right in the inner centre. And that was the segregated. So you had your under 2s, your over 2s, and your 3s and 4s, and quite separate rooms. And I worked with the babies. So I then had that kind of a spread of the kindergarten, which then was only 3 and 4-year-olds, the babies, the under 2s, and the mixed range that covered a bit of everything, but was very much based on a play centre. And spirituality in that research came out very much as lacking. It was where teachers shied away from it, they didn't know what to do with it, and so their way around it was really just to ignore it. And I don't think that's changed from what you were saying in your talk. Yeah, I can see that that's still an issue. There's only one statement that is exactly the same from the 1996 and 2017 in Manawa Whenua on belonging. Knowledge about the features of the area of physical and or spiritual significance, you see there's an or there, to the local community. It is situated in the learning outcomes in 1996 and in the learning and development in 2017, so pretty much the same. 8 statements on spirituality in 96 and in 2017. 5 in 2017 and 2 in 96 are about in terms of physical, emotional, cultural and spiritual, so it's kind of an add-on. And 5 in 1996 and 3 in 2007 on holistic development, which again I think is kind of an add-on. What's also missing in the English version overall, not so much spirituality, is the depiction of the bicultural curriculum in action, which if you look at the photos in the Māori flip part, there's a lot of photos that depict the curriculum in action, which I think would be really useful in the English version. On the English, because they're not versions of each other, they're different curriculum, but in the English curriculum. So that's just listed some of the pictures that are there, showing children actually enacting the bicultural curriculum. And there's the references. So, yeah, questions. Comments.
To do anything, that was perfect. Thank you so much.
You know, because this is an ongoing research, I'd be really interested to hear what you have to say. In fact, I'm going to come and sit down. I feel I don't actually like being up. I much prefer that less.
Tēnā Chris, thank you for sharing this study. This comes from Tahira Afreen, who's on our line. She says, thank you for sharing the study. I noticed that your gain list does not have the relevant whakatauki that was added in 2017 version. I think it adds to the bicultural lens throughout the document, which is a gain. What is your thoughts around this?
Okay, so I haven't got to hear it. Lovely, thank you for doing that. And can you email that to me? I've known to hear it for a long time. I've missed that, completely missed that. So thank you for that. I will go back and have a look at it. Yeah.
Any other questions or comments?
What are you feeling from the field? Enhanced? Is it helping your bicultural?
I think that's why we went to Whāriki Whā, because we couldn't escape spirituality.
Yes.
But you can in Te Whāriki, because you're not sure of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
I'd be very interested to hear if anyone in the room has had any whakaaro around the change of the pattern of the whāriki, and also what people's thoughts are about the inclusion of kaupapa Māori theory, making it much more explicit that there is a theory-based set as to drive the way we interact with tamariki Māori now. I love the provocation that you've put forward.
I don't think, when you say the whāriki understood by teachers in the field, I don't think it's understood. And I think we could do with professional development that helps us frame, help us understand that, to frame our understandings of Te Whāriki.
Sorry, I'm talking.
Yeah, no, do. Thank you.
I think the inclusion of the kaupapa Māori aspect in theory only opens the door to what is out there, and I think that there needs to be more. I'm pleased it's there, but it's only sort of opening the door to say, hey, look, there is another way of being and doing, and not getting out there and more detail on that would have been fantastic. Yeah, but at least it's in there, I suppose.